This episode of Whiskey Riff Raff is brought to you by Cold Snap by Marc Cameron. Go on a hunt for justice in the icy heart of Alaska, where if your target doesn't kill you, the wilderness will. In Cold Snap by Marc Cameron, the best-selling author of the latest Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan novels, an Alaskan resident with nearly 30 years in law enforcement, Marc Cameron is a master of the action thriller. Full of gritty detail that only a hunter could know, he brings this explosive authenticity to Cold Snap as you follow U.S. Marshal Arliss Cutter on a race for survival in the savage landscape of the Alaskan bush, where big storms, predatory animals, dark old-growth trees, and deep frigid waters could prove just as deadly as your target. Cold Snap by Marc Cameron is available now at Amazon.com and everywhere books are sold. Visit markcameronbooks.com for more info.
Alrighty, our 420 guest, big time. Hailey Whitters. Super excited to finally talk to you. But yeah, it won't go up today, but today is 420, and you do have some songs like "Our Grass Is Legal," correct? And then what was the other one, Wes? The
little intro one called the
one.
Grassman. What's kind of this? I feel like I kind of know the story, but if you want to tell our listeners, kind of, I believe that was your grandpa, the turf farmer.
Yeah, so my grandpa had a sod farm. He grew grass, and all my dad, my uncles, and all them worked in the fields for him. And he kind of got coined the nickname the Grassman. And people from like surrounding towns started asking for pot. So he made his business motto, Whitters Turf Farms, Our Grass Is Legal. And we have like really dope merch. I actually have his old hat. Still has like dirt stains and stuff on it. It's way too big for my head, but I have like his original hat that he used to wear that had the logo on it and everything. And we ended up, people kind of love that song. I wrote that song about that story, and people wanted some merch for that. So we made hats, and they're really fun to see people wearing. But yeah, so the Grassman, actually, the intro to that song, that's my Aunt Cindy, who used to answer the phones for him, answering and kind of like imitating a call of what it was like to get those calls back in the day. And the stoner on that call is actually my good friend, very, very well-known stoner, Aaron Ratier.
Well-known stoner. I'm sure he appreciates it. I think West, in baseball, the White Sox or the Cubs, they had a grass guy. They call him the Sod Father.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah, that's a good one. But
did the police ever show up sniffing around the business? Small town, think people talk,
that would be a really good question, especially because I think my dad was kind of like a pothead back in the day, like probably probably not when he was working, because he was a pretty hard worker, but it wouldn't surprise. I don't know if they ever I wish I could ask them. Both my grandparents have passed since then, or I guess recently, but I could probably ask my dad that question. I have not heard anything, but I don't know if they'd tell me if they had,
Yeah.
I guess no news is good news if you're a
no news,
farmer, right?
Yeah.
Is it that same song that I think you mentioned, Garage Beers, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, drinking in your garage. Yeah.
So that's a huge. So we're both from the Midwest. I'm in Colorado now, but West is still in Chicago, and it's kind of a thing everywhere. Like, we were one of the first sites ever years ago to post about like shower beers, but I knew everybody did it, but like nobody talked about it. It was like this weird thing. Garage beers has kind of become a theme for us now, because Wes and I each have like a very young child.
Now.
We're dads, so we have like a 1.5-year-old or whatever, and you move, you get a house, eventually it's like you just end up drinking in the garage a lot more. And it didn't, from the outside looking in, like years ago, you'd be like, oh, that's depressing, like I'm single, I'm gonna go out. Now it's like the most enjoyable beer there is to me. You probably grew up around like your grandfather, your father, everybody kind of hanging around the garage, right? Maybe
yes,
stereo on and drinking and fixing shit that doesn't need to be fixed. And
it's kind of like the Midwest man cave, like deer heads on the wall and tools and lawn chairs and garage beers, and it's kind of just what everyone does. It's like you're having a party, or even if it's just a few people hanging out, everyone ends up in the garage drinking. It's kind of funny, but yeah.
And it has to be the fridge has to be like beige, covered in magnets,
Yeah,
broken like
totally.
shelves.
Totally.
A lot of expired beers potentially if it's not being used often. Like at my house, I think my dad had like MGD, and I'm like, this is 3 years expired. Like, who hasn't drank this? But yeah, that song's really fun. But
Yeah.
you're on tour right now with Jon Pardi and Lainey Wilson. How's that been? Because we love both of them. Party's going to be on soon, and we had Lainey on it. She's awesome, obviously. But how's that tour been?
Man, so this was like the first weekend, and it was a freaking blast. I mean, I have like crazy cool history with Jon. If you want, we can go into that, but we've known each other for a really long time. And I mean, I freaking love what Lainey Wilson is doing, what she stands for. I mean, there's just no better, two better people that I would have wanted to spend my summer with than those two. So we had a really fun time. And everyone kept saying, man, this tour is going to be so fun. You know, like all the bands and all the crew and everything, everyone just is really excited for it. And I think it's, just really good chemistry, really good energy. Everyone gets along. Everyone wants to have a good time. So I think it's going to be a really great summer.
How did you get to know Jon a little bit? If you want to go into that.
Well, so I knew Jon like way back, you know, when I kind of moved to town. This girl that I knew he was kind of seeing at the time. We won't go there. But then, you know, in 2016, it's funny, I was actually just looking at these pictures because it's kind of just a crazy full circle thing with this tour with him. But way back in 2016, he asked me to go open some shows for him. And I mean, I didn't have a whole lot going on. So he was throwing me a giant bone by letting me come out and have that opportunity. But this was like right before California Sunrise record came out. I remember he was super pumped about it because he was kind of playing me some things off it. But I played those shows, and flash forward a few more years, you know, I'm waiting tables again, not where I wanted to be in my career, had to go back to a day job, and I'm working a shift at the restaurant, and in walks Jon. And it was just like kind of that really awkward moment, a little bit embarrassing. You know, he's walking in, I'm smelling like fried food, you know, greasy beignets and shitty beer. And like, I wanted to literally find the back door and run for my life, but I had to go take his order. He sat in my table. And so I like go up to him. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And he's like, hey, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm working. Woo.
What do you think, Jon?
And he was like so sweet about it. He's like, well, you want to give me a beer then? And like immediately put me to work. But yeah, so it was kind of one of those like really humbling Nashville broken busted musician moments for me. But he was super cool about it. And then now flash forward a few more years and some career upswings, and I'm going on tour with him. So it's kind of been a crazy story.
It's pretty awesome. What was the place? Is it it's still around, or you don't want to say? Or
well, actually it's not a thing anymore. It was called Richard's in Whites Creek Cafe, a little mom and pop Cajun restaurant. And actually when I went to go quit, put in my 2 weeks, because I was finally able to go on the road full time, the owner actually told me that he was closing the doors. And
man.
So he kind of, I guess, broke up with me in that scenario.
Isn't that I actually had this in my notes because we tend to ask a lot, whether it's, you know, the reality shows or TikTok or whatever. Music's really evolved in ways to kind of get discovered, but you know, I feel like even for ourselves, like building a business from the ground up and all the years of like hard work and like every day, all the time, never turning it off. Like, doesn't it make it more enjoyable now as you're having these like milestones and these cool moments that you went through that versus like, oh, I went viral on TikTok. Oh, there's a label calling me tomorrow. I haven't done it. I don't even know how to hold a guitar and I'm standing in front of people. Like it feels much more fulfilling in my opinion than getting like the easy kind of, I'm not saying it's always easy, but do you kind of look back at that and appreciate it a lot, the hard work that kind of goes into like balancing the act, and then boom, now you can do it full time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's like, it's so hard to watch people just kind of blow up on TikTok or whatever and kind of just like go there fast. And when you've had this very long, enduring journey, but I think, on my glass half full days, being able to kind of look at some of those and be like, well, I had to learn the hard way, and so I think that like I'm at a point where I've seen just about all of it. I've been the songwriter, I've been the producer, I've been the van driver, I've been the booking agent, the promoter, the marketing person, the merch like I've worn all the hats, and so it's like I do think that kind of just makes me a little more secure and solid in like my business and my brand, I guess, like I know who I am now. I know how to run my business. And I think had I gotten signed or something right away when I moved to town, I wouldn't have known any of that. And I could have gotten lost very easily, but having really been able to put in some of that time and some of that work, and nobody knows it more than I do, the ins and outs and all that when it comes to me, when it comes to my music. And I think I wouldn't have had that perspective if I just kind of blew up, immediately or something.
Yeah, I mean,
totally.
well, it's easy to like start saying yes to things you wouldn't ordinarily say yes to when you're so fresh and you're like, well, I just got this record deal. I want to make people happy.
Yeah.
Record a song that I maybe wouldn't record or doesn't really fit me, kind of thing. And a lot of artists do that, and plenty don't. But I can imagine how like spending the time, like you said, kind of figuring out who you are pays dividends in the long run once you kind of like build your fans kind of show by show, whether it's 10 people in a coffee shop or 100 people in a bar and then 1,000 people in a club, and and
I did all that too. There was a period of my life where I was trying to be like pop country, and I had to like try it out and learn that wasn't me. Or, there's a gig that I played where I think there were like 3 people in the audience, learning how to win that over, and being told no by just about everyone in the industry forced me to be creative and start my own record label, Pegasus. And I guess kind of just by like default, I've kind of had to find ways to make things happen for myself, because for a long time, a lot of people were telling me no, and I'm glad now that I've been able to build a really great team around me to really help me navigate, this career.
I don't think I realized that you were on your own label.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when I put out The Dream, I didn't have a manager. I didn't have a record label. We'd shopped the record. Nobody wanted to pick it up. Nobody wanted to sign me. And we were having a lot of meetings. And also at that time, the meetings with the labels that we were having were very kind of just uninspiring to me. It was really strange, like dirty jokes and like bottle service and shit like that. And it felt like it was about everything other than the music. And I just,
I gotta
fucking hell.
hear more about this.
I mean, it was just like, I just didn't feel, I'd been around, again, going back, if I were a 19-year-old girl, I would have been like, oh my God, but I'd been here forever. I'd seen a lot of friends get screwed by labels. And so I was very apprehensive, and I just wasn't really having it. And so I kind of stopped taking label meetings, and I thought, I'm just going to start my own label. I've come this far. I've worked this hard. I care about this music. I don't want it to get put on a shelf somewhere. So I'm just going to be independent until I find someone who feels like the right partner. And so we started a label called Pegasus, and that's what I put The Dream on. And it was like probably a year. I think it was like around, I think it was like 6 months or something after that, maybe a year or so. Big Loud had approached me, and they were like, we love everything you're doing. Can we be involved? And they were really cool and very just like cognizant of what we'd been building on our own. So they actually created a deal for me that allowed me to still keep Pegasus as part of my label team. So everything I release is like Pegasus Big Loud, and Songs and Daughters. And I had not seen anything like that in Nashville. I hadn't seen too many country artists come through, mainstream commercial country artists come through and have their label be like, we want to keep your indie little label that you started. Like, we want to keep that as part of the team and part of the
it's
the
very
venture.
rare, I think. Was like
That's-
Cody Johnson maybe was he one?
Yeah,
When he came over from Texas.
maybe. I don't
Maybe.
know the deal with him and Warner, but they like help distribute and stuff.
It's super like
Yeah.
even for us, it's so fucking confusing. Like for
Right.
fans, I think they don't even know what's going on. They like they see that like
Right.
they don't even know what songs are number one most times in a good way. I think we've talked
Yeah,
about
totally.
this, but you talk about bottle service. It's like we've done a lot over the years, like funny, stupid like articles about how much we hated it. Even when we were single guys in Chicago back in the day, like never was a thing we cared about. Much rather go to a Cubs game and be in Wrigleyville, but the that bottle service treatment, was that in Nashville? Because if it's in Nashville, who even offers that? Dirk's Bentley's bar? Like who?
Yeah.
Gotta be-
Yeah, no, it was in Nashville, and I won't go too deep in it
Yeah.
because I ain't trying to expose
Yeah, right,
no
right,
one.
right.
But yeah, I mean, it was. I've never really ventured out of Nashville. I mean, I always just thought country music, Nashville, man. So
Not anymore. man.
yeah, I know. So yeah, and whatever. I mean, you hear maybe just I don't know. It was just
They look dead
something-
inside sometimes. I just saw a video that was going viral. I forgot why. Somebody like fell or something, but like the girls are coming out with the sprinklers
Yeah,
and they're like, the DJ's like zooming in on them and their faces just look like stone wall, like
Zombie.
just fucking like just
Oh, no.
gone. And I'm just like, it can't be. I know you make money. They make a lot of
Yeah.
money, especially in big cities, but like a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it looks, is there anything, I mean, maybe they were able to drink a little bit on the job, but from my experience working the door in college at a bar, at like an Irish bar that was just like nonstop, there's nothing worse than being sober around really, really drunk people.
yeah, totally.
So it's like, and then you got to picture these guys, everybody's trying to schmooze you.
Yeah.
God, that whole world just sounds like miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you navigated it well and you kind of kept true to your roots, and obviously your new album is a testament to that. Because I feel like your sound is so reminiscent to me of like the badass women of the 90s country era, like the Jody Messinas, Trisha Yearwood, Reba, like, and it's just so like refreshing right now because I just don't think there's a lot of it at all. And then I mean, like Luke a little bit is kind of harkens back to some of that 90s sound here and there, but it's just so awesome. Is that kind of what you grew up on and kind of what influences your sound?
Yeah, I mean, that's like, growing up a kid in the 90s and, pre-internet, radio was all I had to learn about country music and to hear country music. So it was everything that was on the radio, it was Trisha and Alan and Tim and Chesney and the Chicks, and it was a lot of that. So that's like what I love about country music, and I just tried to really channel some of those sounds that like inspired me to be here in the first place. And I'm not like trying to reinvent the wheel or anything. Country music to me has always just been about the songwriting. It doesn't have to be some crazy production or anything. It's really about what the song is saying. And so that's just kind of where, what I try to do is just focus on songs and great songs and production that supports the song and stays out of the way,
Yeah. Speaking of, sorry,
ahead.
let's go ahead. No, I was gonna say, speaking of Luke, real quick, we posted a couple years ago the cover. You're drinking some Busch, and you're maybe in Iowa.
Oh
but
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is that true to like if you're drinking a beer and you're just drinking a very simple, I don't want to say no flavor, like I got Coors Light right here, sorry Busch, but they're all kind of in the same like boat, right? Is that your go-to? Because I love beer, but I am not this IPA person,
craft beer person. Yeah, no, I do. I'll drink Busch Light, Miller Light. I really don't discriminate.
we have
sort of beer.
we have a licensing deal with Busch,
Yeah.
so we were selling a lot of stuff. We got to send you some stuff.
Heck yeah, I would love that. Yeah, I mean, if I go to like a craft brewery or something, I get like a I don't know,
Their
just
blonde ale or something.
like a
Yeah.
blonde ale.
What's the
or
closest thing you
something.
have to a Busch Light?
No.
Pretty much.
I
Pretty
tweeted
much.
this. I tweeted this last summer because I went with my wife and here in Colorado, and she asked the guy that. She's like, "What's the closest thing to a Coors Light?" I'm like,
You're gonna throw
just
us
like-
out of here.
like you got to pretend. I'm like, it's always in order, kind of.
Yeah.
This, if you see lager or like, you're probably gonna be
Pilsner.
okay. But
Yeah. That is hilarious.
my
My kind of woman.
Yeah. Is the tour with, I know Lainey loves whiskey. I know Jon does too. Is that like are you a whiskey drinker as well, or not so much?
I really am just about an anything kind of drinker. I mean, I don't.
That's our kind of
it's
thing
all
right there.
good to me. Yeah, Pardi has his like party batch now. So
Yeah.
we did a few shots of that this weekend and cheers and toasted to that. And I don't know what Lainey was drinking. She was taking she was shooting some whiskey. I also do a lot of tequila on the road just because it's kind of safe. You know what I mean? Like,
George
I'm
Strait's
drinking
tequila.
whiskey on the road. There's no telling what will happen. So I got to keep myself somewhat composed. So I do like the tequila, soda or something like that. My band and I will take a shot of tequila usually before we go on. Otherwise, yeah, Busch Light is on the rider. And, beer is hard though on the road because
Yeah.
it makes you bloated and you got to fit into your stage pants and it's hard.
It's so true. Even for the podcast, if we drink too much beer, I tend to be like, I'm gonna start burping, and so I gotta like try to hide it.
Yeah.
Feel bloated. But I was like, oh, why don't you try drinking wine? I'm like, if I drink wine, it goes down so easy when I'm talking. Then the next thing I know, I'm like, oh shit, like I just drank a bottle in an hour. But
and you gotta watch yourself on the road for sure. I got rally patches, hangover pills, Pedialyte. I was trying to get us sponsored by Pedialyte so that we could roll. But yeah, because you got to put on a show.
We tried hard with Pedialyte. They're just like, we were like posting about it so much.
They don't support hangover habits.
They do now.
They do now. Back then, back in like 2016, we were really trying to 2017, maybe really after them. They were like, we really don't want to start pushing this as like a hangover cure. And it's like, cut the shit, man. Like, that's what it is. Like,
yeah, when I'm just remembering, like when I was on the road with the Midland last year, I was out with the Flatland Cavalry Boys and we hung out on the bus and stayed up so late dancing, turned the bus into like a honky tonk dance party. And the next morning I was so hungover, I like couldn't even eat until probably 3 or 4 p.m. And all I had was I went into Walgreens and I got a grape Pedialyte and a basket of fries. And I posted a photo and said like back in the saddle. It was like our first gig post pandemic, and Pedialyte retweeted me. And they actually said like, thanks for taking us along on the ride. So I might have to revisit that idea with
I feel like they have somebody that's like, they got to get a new person in there to kind of understand what's going on here.
I'll try and get us
There's
a Light sponsorship. Y'all do the Busch Light.
There's a dog one now. That's not from them, I don't think, but we're trying to like, I got Maverick over here that I don't know if you saw him lay down, German Shepherd over here, but I was like, they're making this type of stuff for dogs now for like the summer and stuff. Yeah. I'm like, all right. But wait, you see you went to Walgreens, got Pedialyte and a basket of fries?
Well, the fries weren't from Walgreens.
Okay.
I was gonna say.
That'd be sick.
I was like, what is Iowa crushing the Walgreens game or what's going on?
Right? I know. Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned Midland because I feel like and now that you're on with Pardi had Midland and Runaway June on a couple years back, and we went to that show at Joe's Bar here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Such a fun tour. So I imagine that you and Jon and Lainey is going to be such a fun tour as well. I mean, I know
y'all need to come out. Come out this summer.
We had Lainey on, and she thought she had a beaver in her backyard during the podcast and started drinking, and it was a lot of fun. But
oh my gosh.
Boys Back Home. I have this down because that's obviously a big, a really popular song for you. A lot of people love it. For me, when I hear that, not your song, but typically I'm like, oh, Boys Back Home. I'll think, of course, I have a couple of friends still, but actually probably one. But where I grew up, I think Boys Back Home, it's like the star athlete now works at the gas station and there's meth addicts everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's a little different, maybe depending on where you're from. If it's like that, like the shitty small town.
He's from
It's not really
Indiana though, so he's in that Midwest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Indiana, like almost Chicago suburb where it's like 50,000 people. It's the worst type of town, right?
Is
You
that
get off
like
the,
Gary?
it's by over there.
Yeah,
It's right there.
yeah.
So that's impressive. You know that. But
I
every
spent a lot of time on the road driving a van.
yeah. So when you get off the road in a lot of these places, like you have the big gas stations, you have maybe like over here in Indiana, we had like a big Bass Pro Shop or whatever, but which was nice. But I don't really have that recollection of like that true small town kind of life. It's more of like, oh, I can't wait to get out of here. West, you have a little bit different, probably. Dixon was a lot smaller and Illinois, but for you that was a very real thing, right? That story and those people that you shared and kind of like that vibe, which and that's why I think people have latched onto that song so much, and just even just Googling it on socials. A real place though for you, right?
Yeah. My town was pretty small. I mean, where I come from, it's a lot of little farm towns that are all probably like 10 minutes away from each other kind of thing. So I grew up in Shueyville. Swisher was nearby, Fairfax, Ely. And our high school had all those little small towns. That's where like all those small town kids kind of went to school. And I'm not far from like Cedar Rapids or Iowa City, but it's funny how, even still those towns can be so much more like rural than like Cedar Rapids or Iowa City or something like that. But I like, my school was like nicknamed Cow Pie High because it was all like the farm kids, all the city kids used to like make fun of our high school because it was just a bunch of farm kids. And growing up, like there was actually this place that I have tons of, I'm from a big family. So like I grew up around boys, so many boys, wild, crazy boys. And, literally it was like the boys that would be trying to date me in school would be afraid to date me because of my cousins getting, their ass whooped by my older cousins who are state wrestlers and shit. So I grew up around a lot of like tough boys, and we had a spot in high school. It was like a rite of passage where the seniors always had it, and it was called Green Castle. And I can't even tell you how to get there because it was like this place in the woods that we'd all pile in the back of whoever had like the biggest truck. We'd all pile in the back, and it's all these like washed out dirt roads, but whoever was driving knew how to get there. And it was like this clearing in the woods that the cops like never knew about or never caught us at. And so everyone would always go party there. And it's straight up like a scene out of Chattahoochee almost, it's like by a river. And it was the kind of thing where everyone would tell their parents they were staying at everyone else's house so that we could all stay out all night. And someone's fake brother, older brother, my friend Justin's older brother had the ID that Justin would use to go get the beer and get the vodka and all that stuff. And we'd all just go like
Burnett's. What were we drinking? What kind
Hawkeye
of
vodka? Like idiot vodka. And we'd all just sit around, and someone would play just country music on the radio, and we'd all just sit around and do whatever. So that's kind of what I was thinking of when I wrote that, but also just like my brothers and those cousins and my uncles, those rowdy boys that turned into, hardworking, strong men. And my co-writer, Jesse Joe Dillon, actually wrote like such a great passage about that song when it was released. It's like they were our protectors, our champions, our defenders, like taught us how to drink, taught us how to fight, how to stick up for ourselves. It's like I have a lot of love for those boys, and I think that they taught me how to be tough, how to stick up for myself, and how to have a good time and whatnot. And so I know that they're a large part of the reason that I'm who I am today, you know, was running around with those boys and all that. So
yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
told you before we got on, but the album just in general kind of reminds me of my hometown. I said it kind of sounds like
yeah.
home to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, my high school situation was very similar. But I
Mhm.
also love that song because it's not like a romantic song. It's not a heartbreak song. It's just like, hey, you know, these are some of the dudes in my life that kind of, you know, shaped me and I'm buddies with and still kind of miss. And it's just kind of rare. It's not necessarily like I feel like country music tends to pigeonhole, especially female artists, into like these heartbreak, I hate him, or I love him. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, you can just
There's very few songs like that from
Yeah.
which we're like longing for, which we love. Like,
Yeah.
let them sing. We've ranted on here so much about like, let these women making country music sing about drinking and all these things that the guys can, and the labels got pissed at us when sometimes when we tell them like oh no, don't ask this, don't do this. It's insane. We'll tell you off camera, but they just like, we call them out and then they don't want to talk to us. It's like, you guys are like, it's true. Like, and they don't even want us on them on the podcast as much because they know Whiskey Riff Raff. Oh, they're going to be drinking, just shooting the shit. This isn't an interview. Oh, what kind of interview is it? It's not an interview. It's a podcast. We're drinking. You're lucky we're not on edibles right now. But it's like, it's a weird thing, right? It's hard to kind of manage that, like the business landscape of country music, Nashville labels, teams, management, right? Like, I don't know, but great job on that song, because it's definitely a rarity. And when I just searched it before the podcast, it was just tons of guys just like pulling it up, clips, and
Heck yeah. Where are you looking? I want to go look at it.
I tend to look up like, which a lot of people don't do, not like going to accounts, but you search like phrases or whatever. And like you retweet, or somebody on your team retweeted something of ours where we didn't tag you for some reason.
Oh.
So they probably looked up your name.
Like on Twitter or something.
Yeah, without the tag. And then
I tweeted the new Hailey Whitters album fucking slaps.
Oh yeah, that was a good tweet. I saw that.
Oh, Farce the Music. You said about not being pop country. You retweeted, or they retweeted Farce the Music, who we love, but he said something about like, you're the best version of pop country. I kind of get what he was saying in the tweet, but because some of your songs are a little more, I don't want to say like forward, but
radio friendly.
I guess is the word. But yeah, do you hate those labels? Pop country, traditional, Americana, which nobody even understands what that means anymore. Like,
I mean, I don't really think too much about the labels, to be honest. I think I used to like get caught up in it, like what's country, yada yada. But like, I don't know, some of my favorite music just doesn't really have a label or a genre, you know. It's like Patty Griffin's just Patty Griffin. You know, it's like Jon Prine's just Jon Prine. Like, I understand why people have to classify them, maybe for like, you know, the mass listeners and stuff. They're like, well, you know, how do I listen? You know, where do I go to listen, kind of thing. But like, I think that, you know, trying to like label things sometimes, at least for me as a creative, I really can't think about it, because I think it just really limits me already. It puts me in a box before I've even kind of finished the song. You know what I mean? I really just try and write great songs. And that's the thing about country music to me, is great songs transcend genres. I mean, Dolly Parton wrote I Will Always Love You. She's country as fuck. And that song was trying to get recorded by Elvis, who was the biggest rock star at the time, got recorded by Whitney Houston, and went on to be just a massive song. And, you know, pop means popular. You know, it's interesting sometimes, like people think it means beats or like, you know, a certain production or sonic sound, but pop means popular music. So I think it's a compliment to have your music be classified as popular. That means a lot of people like it, right? So I don't know. I mean, I really don't think too much about the labels. I think my record's country. I mean, it's talking about where I'm from. I look at records like Alan Jackson's records. I mean, he was talking about the same things, you know, and growing up next to the river in Chattahoochee and drinking beer in the pale moonlight. Like, to me, it's country. But if someone says it's pop or mainstream or commercial, I don't really take that as a negative, because I think it's, you know, and I'm not trying to sound cocky, but like, I think it's good, you know, like I like what I'm doing, and I like the music I'm making, and I'm trying to write good music or be good music because I love good music. And that's what's always attracted me to country, is there's a lot of really great music in country. And I think that, you know, that's always been my goal, is to just try and make good music. And I think that, you know, if you look at why country resonates with so many other people, you know, like Tom Petty and the Stones and people like that, it's because it's good music, whether it's country or not, it's just good music.
Who are some of the artists that you really like right now?
I love Billy Strings. Do y'all listen to Billy?
Yeah.
I love.
We just posted his Post Malone little on stage jam session.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah. I love Billy. I love Phoebe Bridgers right now. I really love her. I love Lainey John. What else have I been listening to? I mean, I'm always listening to Gillian Welch. She's like one of my ultimate favorite artists. Her records are so great. New kid, Ben Chapman. I love Ben. Ben and Meg McCree. They got a thing going on here called Peach Jam, and just their spirit, like their music's really good, and also just the spirit that they carry, I think is really attractive to a lot of people. It kind of reminds you of why you moved to town, you know. I like them a lot. Brent Cobb, I love. Yeah.
Good names.
I have to like, I'm like, what do I even listen to music?
It's always an on the spot question.
No, I know, because even if I look at my own, I'm like, people be like, what? You work in country music? It's so random. I'll have like classical music, and then Hans Zimmer, who does every fucking soundtrack for every movie.
Right.
Krungbin. I love Krungbin. I don't see, you can tell like I am so bad with genres because I'm all over the place. But do you guys ever listen to them? They're kind of more like jam band.
I haven't heard them. No.
They're really good. They're kind of really blowing up too. You should go check them out. But I like listening to them. I have my Grateful Dead has become a thing during the pandemic. My fiance literally only listens to Grateful Dead, it feels like. So I got my Sirius station always on 23, the Dead station. I listen to so many different things.
Yeah. Well, you co-produce your album with your fiance, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? How does that work? Is there like a lot of, because I mean, I'm married, but I don't know necessarily creatively, like if I want to be in a studio with my wife, making music decisions.
My wife just got mad. I stirred the pasta sauce before the pie. She's like, leave it alone. I'm making it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, Jake Gear. So we've actually been together for 10 years. And so he's like seen, and he works in the business too. I mean, he plays guitar. He's played a lot of different instruments. He's not
he
like,
retweets us a lot, we saw.
Yeah, he loves y'all. He's not like he didn't like want it when he moved here. He can play, but like he wasn't like trying to be a musician or anything. He actually got into the publishing industry. So he's like a song plugger, and runs a company, started a company with Hillary Lindsay called Hang Your Hat. And so they like sign writers together and all that. But I mean, we've been together for like 10 years. So he's seen me grow and evolve, and he jumps in the van. He's riding around with the band, seeing us play for crowds of 5 people and 500. And like, I think that he's just really always been very in tune with my music and me. And so we started producing kind of out of default. Like we didn't really know of any producers that we kind of wanted to work with. Anyone that we really wanted to work with was like way too expensive. I mean, I'm on a waitressing budget here. So we were just like, we were sitting down with my old boss at my old writing boss at Carnival, Frank Liddell, who produces, like, he did produce Miranda and Leanne Womack and Eli Young Band and David Nail. And we like had beers with him once and we were like, Frank, like, we really need a producer. And he was like, well, y'all know what you want, you know what you like. Why don't you guys just produce it? And we're like, well, we're not producers. And he was like, well, neither was I until I produced my first record. I think his first record was actually Chris Knight, which is also the Trailer Tapes, which is also a great record. And so that kind of gave us like the confidence to start diving in a little bit. And we totally came from just like very curious, ignorant, we know nothing perspective. We knew kind of what musicians we wanted because I'd been doing a lot of demo sessions. So I knew like Chris Donegan, who has played on every single thing of mine. He's a guitar player and he's always been band leading these records. So kind of getting the crew together and whatnot. Jerry Rowe, Eli Baird, all these musicians. And we just kind of, get in it. And honestly, making the dream and being in the driver's seat for that project was one of the most influential learning experiences I've ever had. And I kind of believe every artist should have to do that because it forces you to like really dig in and figure out what you like, what you don't like, what needs to be better, what's lacking, what you need, all these things. And so I think there was like one time that I like threw his shit out of the car and I was like, tired. You're never working on this again. I hate working with you. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, we trust each other and we respect each other. And if there's a disagreement, we figure it out, we sort it out. And, it's not like if I feel like if I got to work with like Jay Joyce or something, I'd be so intimidated and so scared and like, who am I to challenge them with an idea?
Dave Cobb or somebody.
Dave Cobb or something. I would just feel too intimidated. Like working with someone who felt like kind of, an equal in some ways, it allowed us to really like fight it out and figure out what we get to something that we really felt like was great or what was best for the project or something. I mean, we definitely have some pretty knockdown, drag out fights, but it's all in the name of trying to just make the project as good as it could be.
And you were just at the Grammys, right?
Yeah.
And you had a couple funny tweets about wearing cowboy boots and then stepping in dog shit. Was that a real story? Did you actually step in dog shit?
Yeah, I did. Well, that was in my backyard.
Okay.
Dog shit. I walk around barefoot a lot and my dogs, there's a lot of landmines in the backyard, but yeah, so I did step in dog shit and I was seriously contemplating wearing cowboy boots. And then my creative director was like, how about you wear these heels of mine? So I didn't wear cowboy boots, but I got a really great response on that. Apparently everyone thought I should have definitely worn cowboy boots. I kind of regret it now because I definitely took my heels off very early in the night and walked the Vegas Strip also barefoot.
Well, I saw those photos.
So I don't know if you saw that photo, but Hillary Lindsay and I looked down at one point and our feet were totally black, which apparently that's called like Walmart feet or something.
I had that down. Somebody commented that's called Walmart feet. I'm like, this is where I grew up.
Yeah.
Like
Same
you would
with
see
y'all,
just like I would go in there in disguise when I was in college visiting my parents. Disguise. To not see anybody I went to school with in Walmart because the Riff Raff, no pun intended, was not good.
You
but
Walmart
feet is just like
in the shampoo aisle with somebody.
But it's like, so that's the thing, right? Really, really small towns, people will just go to Walmart barefoot. Is that?
Yeah. I would go everywhere barefoot. I mean, my feet were so much tougher when I was younger because I would walk barefoot in the field.
Those summer feet.
Yeah, it was awesome. The gas station, that's so like.
Well, that's why places started with those no shirt, no shoes, no service type places.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Because people would just, come out of the pool, get in the truck.
Well, then you get older.
But
then you get older. I was in the steam room today in the gym, and then I'll see a guy walk in with no flip-flops. I'm like, you're gonna get ringworm. I'm saying it in my head.
Athlete's foot.
I'm like, it ain't worth it, buddy. I want to like tell him, I'm like, it ain't worth it, man. You're gonna go home and be miserable. get some fucking flip-flops from Amazon for $10 and you'll be fine. But yeah, as you get older, you learn those things. I feel like the last couple of questions here before we let you go. We were talking about beers earlier and hangovers. Do you have any specific go-tos these days for pre-show rituals? You said maybe you do a shot, but has that evolved over time too? Any like superstitious things you want to do, or are you kind of just like, let's get out there, have a shot of tequila and go?
We always have a shot of tequila, and then we always do a hell right. And it's kind of like our like everyone in the band has to be there. If someone's not there, it jinxes the show. And then it's like everyone throws the hand in, says a few words, whatever it be. Lately it's been like, let's do some country ass shit. Hell right, count of 3, 3, 2, 1, hell right. And then everyone walks on stage. And it's kind of become like a superstition now where if we don't get to do our hell right, we feel like the show might not go great.
Oh no, okay.
So it's kind of superstitious now, and yeah.
Have you seen any crazy shit with the fans? If you're, I mean, you only had one day here with Pardi and them, but playing, you know, you're out there with a larger crowd. What's the craziest fan thing you've seen? Or maybe it's not that bad, but maybe you tend to ask this question a lot. Any creepers at the meet and greet? Any I mean, I assume that's a thing too, right? Like we've had people tell us like, you get, oh, I DM'd you. I said, what?
Yeah. I mean, you have some people you got to kind of like, you know,
security.
I don't have security. No,
I know, but like at the venue,
I've been pretty lucky. Like I don't really have too many creepers. Like honestly, a lot of my fans have been like really freaking cool. Honest, like people I would probably go drink beer with, you know, if I had more time in their city. But we get some funny DMs. I love to post the funny DMs. Like someone just asked me to like be his like prom date or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm way too old to be going to prom with you, but yeah, I love things like that. Man, I have a story of we were playing a show in Macon, Georgia once at the Crazy Bowl. And this story is like probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to me when I was on stage. You ready for it?
Ready.
Buckle up. So we were playing this show and it's like one of those 3-hour cover gig kind of things. And they always had to start at 10 p.m. So it went from 10 to 11 to 12. And we were like, no, it was like kind of depressing because it was like, you're playing in the front room and we just watch everyone walk right past our show and go to the back where there was like a DJ. So it was just kind of like, damn, nobody even cares that we're here. You know, they want to like be bumping it, and grinding in the back.
Start covering Nelly. And
yeah. And so we're like about to be on kind of like our last song of the night. And we'd seen these like this group of girls who looked like they were on a bachelorette party or something. And then this other girl that like seemed super hammered and kept like coming up to the stage and like sticking her tongue out at us and all that. And anyway, one of the girls I'm going to be like so weirded out if someone in this party's listening to your podcast and like was there this night.
We'll find out.
But one of the girls in the bachelorette party came up to us and was like, hey, I will pay you $100 if we can sing with the band. And I was like, I would have let you sing for 20, but sure. So she comes up. We're like, what song do you want to do? I think it was like, I don't know, like Wide Open Spaces or Suds in the Bucket or something like that. Or maybe it was White Liar. I can't remember. A cover. And the girls
not bad.
The girls are up there, they're singing, the band's playing along, all that. All of a sudden, Tongue Girl comes up and like also gets on the stage. And the next thing you know, it is like a full-on knockdown, drag-out fight. Hair getting ripped out, earrings getting ripped out. I saw a dude trying to break it up, getting punched in the face by the girl. Like the claws were out. And this was like a straight solid 3 minutes. I mean, my bass player immediately just starts throwing his bass back to the drummer to like, you know, cables are getting ripped out, feedback, you know, people just getting slugged in the face. It was like going on for a while. And I'm just standing there like, oh my God, what is going on?
Never again.
So anyways, it ends or whatever. The bouncer comes and breaks it up. And I like go get paid at the end of the night. And the dude was like, I was like, hey, I'm so sorry about that fight. I felt bad because I like invited them up. And he was like, oh, honey, that girl, those groups had been following each other all night. And apparently the long tongue girl had like slept with one of the girls in the bachelorette party's husband and gotten pregnant. And I was like,
this is like,
holy cow.
You could do like a whole like series on that.
That could be a song. That's a song in the making for sure.
I mean, that's more like outlaw than everybody these days. That like the fact that you performed on a stage when that shit's going on.
Yeah.
Where was that at? Do you remember?
That was in Georgia.
Georgia, Macon, Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Crazy, like drama because someone's baby mama, ex-husband's baby mama, like crazy ass things.
I always see like one of the things, I mean, we've shared some of these like things to not do at a concert. One thing that's crazy to me that I you always see is just like people that are throwing the drinks too. Like I just never understood it. And we posted one that went viral of Alan Jackson, who made me think of it back here. Like where he just dodges it really smoothly and he just keeps going. And because Alan kind of just, he's at that stage where he could just stand there. He doesn't need to move around.
Yeah.
But there was a funny one. I think Dustin Lynch got hit in the face and was like,
Dustin Lynch
like
took
literally
bleeding.
But it's like the throwing of the drinks, the drunk crowd. And it's gotta be kind of at times when you're seeing stuff going on, it's probably, do I say something or do I not? Am I hoping? My anxiety would be like, are these people paying attention that are working here to make sure this shit doesn't get bad? But that's a pretty good story.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean,
too bad there wasn't cell phones out. And
I know, right? I went and bought the band a round of drinks with that $100 after that show. We were like, holy cow, it was pretty crazy.
All right, a few more before we wrap up. Did a duet with BJ Barham from American Aquarium. What was that like? How did that come about? I probably wouldn't expect it necessarily on the track list, but saw it, listened to it, loved it. It has a bit of a, I don't even know, Springsteen, Mellencamp, Heartland rock kind of vibe. Fucking love it. Such a good song.
Yeah, no, I wrote that song with Bobby Pinson, who's a great writer in town, hero writer for me. And we wrote that song, we recorded that song, and Jake and I both, it was just my vocal on it. And Jake and I were both like, this is not hitting it for us. Like it's not there. We were kind of thinking of maybe even scrapping it. We love the song, but I couldn't nail the performance. It needed something bad. And we really wanted to like channel that like Springsteen Mellencamp thing. And so then I'd been writing with BJ quite a bit during the pandemic, him and Lori McKenna. And so I love him, huge fan of, what the band does and the 90s throwback records.
Oh, that's
so
I love that stuff. They literally have the best song selection. But
Down at the Twist and Shout, I can't stop listening to it.
Yes, it's so good. And so I was getting to know like BJ and Jake was like, what about BJ? And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. He kind of has some of that Heartland rock element too. And so he got on it and I'm so glad he did because it totally took it where it needed to go. Like that was everything that we'd been envisioning and he just absolutely made that song and made that performance. So I'm glad that he jumped on it.
Yeah. I feel like you do such a good job of putting these like little one-liners together. And it's one of his on that song about the boys talking baseball, talking bases, not talking baseball. And it's like so clever to me. And you have so many of those throughout this record. And
thanks guys. Thank you.
Testament to your great songwriting.
Oh, thank you.
Did a dog just come in?
My dog is right down here. Bo.
Oh, look at Maverick. Bo.
Oh, is he a blue tick? Oh, look at him. Bo. Come here, Bo.
It's like he heard him.
No, look at buddy. Oh, he's sweet. He wants to go outside.
I've been blinded by this Colorado sun the entire podcast, and I have my blinds completely shut. I'm so fucking annoyed.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like trying to like, but yeah, no, this has been. Here's Matt. Come here, Matt. Say hello.
So what kind of dog is Mav?
He's a German Shepherd and Husky, or
That's right.
Belgian
Okay, cool.
male and Husky.
Cool.
We don't know for sure when you do.
Cool.
He doesn't like it.
I love it.
He's very vocal.
I love it.
But yeah, so awesome to actually meet you, even if it's through video. Definitely got to have some Busch Lights.
Yeah, right.
Person at a concert, and then definitely have to send you some of the Whiskey Riff shop gear. But the Corn Queen herself.
Oh,
Yes.
woo!
From the Busch Light. Have you ever had Casey's Pizza? Do they have that?
Oh, have I ever the breakfast pizza?
See, I've still never had that.
I've been telling people on this podcast for years about it, and I don't know if anyone has ever been on to corroborate my love for Casey's Pizza.
Casey's breakfast pizza. That's where
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know they had a breakfast pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Told me that.
it's
I don't think
so
I did.
good.
Yet.
It's very good. Like
Scrambled
whenever
it.
like,
What? Scrambled eggs, cheese, sausage. What's it?
they put like some kind of like cheese sauce on it or something, you
Yeah.
know?
Something
It
super
sounds disgusting,
natural.
but it's good.
You don't need to know what's in it.
I
It's
know,
one
you
of those.
probably don't know what's in it. Yeah. Bo, come on, you want to go outside? Yeah, it's so good. You're gonna have to get some.
Yeah, we will.
Do they have that in Colorado? Do they have like a
I don't think West.
so.
Is that a Midwest thing?
It's a Midwest
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, it's only
They might. Do they sell like frozen? It's like Giordano's got big, and then they like started selling frozen deep dish pizza out of Chicago.
Yeah.
So I don't know
know.
if Casey's
I
gonna get
don't
into
know.
that game.
Maybe I hope so.
I think the breakfast pizza's always made that morning.
Yeah, I hope so.
Frozen egg sounds kind of nasty.
It does. It sounds
No.
pretty horrendous. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Everybody-
guys. This was
new
awesome.
album.
So fun.
Raised tour with Pardi and Laney. We'll have to catch one, and careful with the hangovers and the Busch Lights, but we'll send you some.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
we'll get you some gear.
Cheers,
Yeah.
Hailey. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. This was awesome. Love chatting with you.
Yeah, same.